Hey, Dane, welcome back. It's so good to see you. And now a father of three.
Hey, Dr. Jane, how you doing? Great to see you. Thank you. Yes, I'm coming out. Everyone listening, we all can laugh about the kids. I was up at 4:50 in the morning with one of my children last night. I just had my third son, which means God might be telling us to continue to have more children if we're ever going to have a daughter. But I don't know if I can handle it. Kids are so hard. How do people do this? I am so in awe by people who have 6 or 7 children. I am just
Yes.
absolute in awe.
Yeah.
Because I really feel proud of the systems I've built in my house. Like
Yeah.
we don't drink alcohol, we eat real clean food, we got natural energy, we go to bed on time. We have simple systems and we do things right, and we are completely overwhelmed.
And
Yeah.
sometimes that's why it's overwhelming because kids don't have systems. They don't care about your systems.
Yeah, and it's in the background. As a lot of us know, I was diagnosed with life-threatening Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis and went through all that, and so it's another layer of saying, hey, how do I protect my gut and protect my kids' gut? Because you're always wondering, oh man, I had this. What can I do to make sure my children don't get sick like this? And how do I protect my wife when she's not sleeping and she's up breastfeeding all night long with a crying baby who's got his own issues, and the
Yeah.
other children are wanting attention and time, and are having nightmares or something. It's a lot. It's hard.
I think it's a balance over time. I see why my mom just wants to hang out and do nothing all day at 65. I was like, I get it. I kind of get, but you just lie down and take a nap for 3 hours during the day. A real thing. But I'll tell you though, the biggest thing you did for your kids is all the prep work you do before you actually have them.
Yeah.
I have a couple of patients, but I'm thinking in particular about my male patient who had Crohn's, colitis, and he was just told he has unexplained infertility, even though like sperm viability was at zero, morphology was up. And we just retested, and it's been probably about 18 months of work. And I think you can speak a lot on this, how long it actually takes to reverse something that is chronic and has been with you for a long time. And his viability is, over 60%. And morphology was at 8% on this last test that we did. And I was like,
It
people.
works.
So it works. But I'd love for you to speak about that because there is a lot of people that just don't connect the fact that their gut is directly reflected in their reproductive system. And I can take over the reproductive system part, but how long it actually can take, best case scenario, worst case scenario, things that we need to look for in the gut to actually, because the gut is like the center of our health. So when
Yeah.
that's not good, you can't do anything, I find
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
And
You
I had
read.
IBS as well, so it's like it's very close to me.
Oh, you read my mind. It's the center of our health. And, I find that there are 5 physiological imbalances going on with all of us, whether you're trying to get pregnant or you're dealing with IBD, gastritis, hemorrhoids, diverticulitis, any of these issues, especially with the stress of being pregnant, the stress of trying to breastfeed. And you have to nail down these 5 imbalances. And I think this really puts it into a simple, clear place where we can go, I can absorb that, I can digest that, I can start integrating that. Number one is digestion. Almost all of us with any kind of GI issues have poor digestion. Two is microbiome imbalances. Imbalances cause pathogenic infection, okay? So it's not that you got E. coli, you could have a normal level of another type of bacteria that if it overgrows and becomes imbalanced, then it becomes pathogenic. Then it releases lipopolysaccharides and so forth. So it can be a
Yep.
problem with an imbalance. 3 is going to be that leaky gut. Right behind your gut lining is 70% of your immune system and your bloodstream. Your liver is overwhelmed because your bloodstream is overwhelmed because your gut is injured. So leaky gut's going to be a big issue. And then 4th is that nervous system. And we know that you're under stress breastfeeding. You're under stress having babies, being pregnant. There's a massive amount of stress. And
Or
if
going
you're
through infertility.
or
It's
going through
stressful going to a doctor who tells you there's
very,
nothing wrong and nothing you can
yeah.
do about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're dealing with IBS on top of that, or you're dealing with arthritis, you're dealing with cystic acne, or you're dealing with brain fog or mitochondrial dysfunction, low energy, POTS. It's just we are under attack. And then it's kind of like, do I get rid of the symptoms to then regulate my nervous system? Or do I need to regulate my nervous system to then also support help getting rid of the symptoms?
And I will say,
Yeah.
depends on the person. Some people need the symptoms out
Yeah.
of the way, and then there's just, and some
Yeah.
find I'm like, I cannot get rid of these symptoms until I regulate that nervous system.
You kind of want to go both, but I always say to everyone, get happy
Yes.
before you get healthy. But that nervous system dysfunction is part of that physiological imbalance, and the 5th is drainage pathways. If you've been diagnosed with any autoimmune, I don't care what it is, the gut is connected and you have poor drainage pathways. That is why you got sick from the mycotoxins, from the microplastics, the glyphosate, the chlorine in the water, and everyone around you is not, because you probably have poor glucuronidase pathways, you have poor liver function, phase 1, phase 2, you have poor lymphatic drainage, you don't ever sweat. How many people out there, I'm sure we have a lot of ladies listening, how many of you never sweat?
I used to be one of those people.
Yeah, and people will say, I can't sweat, Dane. I'm like, no, your body doesn't get to that level because you're not sweating. You're not doing a good job of releasing things like heavy metals and mycotoxins and toxins at the cellular level. So those are the 5 imbalances. And then advanced, I like to say, is that cellular detox where, like yourself or Dr. Pompa, other really push people on. But I say if you can get those 5 imbalances in the gut right, the cells will get better, your thyroid will work better, your liver will work better, your fertility will work better, your brain will work better, your mitochondria will work better. So those are the 5 things that you say, this is not woo, it's not arguing with your doctor about what the root cause is. These are real physiological imbalances we need to fix, and they are only going to help no matter male, female, trying to get pregnant, not trying to get pregnant. These need to be optimized. And
you don't want to have cancer, you don't have Alzheimer's, you want to have a long life and happy, healthy. It's like the gut is at the center of it all.
And that's where we get to the next level. Well, and these are questions I'd love to dive in with you, Dr. Jane, that I think a lot of people are listening are wondering is, well, if I've got some gut imbalances and let's say I'm now actively trying to get pregnant, I need to be careful of what I'm taking when I'm 2, 4, 6 weeks pregnant. If we look at the clinical research of a lot of these supplements that we use in functional medicine, there's nothing there. So it says there is no research, therefore never take it, or talk to your doctor. And that's a loophole of saying no one's going to give you an answer because no one wants the liability. So when you talk to your doctor, your doctor's never even heard of augmented N-acetylcysteine. They've never heard of, taking L-glycine or taking curcumin or taking a binder activated
glutamine or slippery elm.
Never heard of it. So that's where I love where you're at. I'm a gut health specialist and, I am also a guy. And so I find that I have to be careful with what I say and know in this experience.
You don't have to be. I don't think you do. I think you can because you have a wife and you have 3 children and you have lived through that experience. I think you don't have your own experience of being pregnant, but you witnessed it multiple times. So I wouldn't be as scared as you are of it because you still have a lot of validity behind it,
You're right. I'm not scared. I'm just respectful of the process. Sure, and because I'm not a hormone specialist and I'm not a pregnancy or fertility specialist. But, and we're talking about babies. So what are your thoughts?
Which is a big deal, right? Babies are
big deal. I've got 3 children. I know exactly how this is. My youngest is 3 months old. I'm like right in this. I am in the thick, guys. I am ignited on this conversation today. Top things I'm seeing with people with IBD and IBS, and I'd love to dive into this a little bit, like taking curcumin. We know it's a powerful anti-inflammatory. We know it helps calm down the colon. It can calm down arthritic pains. It can help with pain. It can be a substitute for a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, which we know the clinical studies show aggravates the gut lining, irritates the body, and we know there are pros and cons to taking acetaminophen or ibuprofen or things like that in the whole pregnancy circle. What are your thoughts on someone if they've got poor GI health and using, let's say 1,600 milligrams, 400 milligram capsules, 2 caps twice a day, and through the cycle of curcumin? What are your 2 cents on that?
Once they become pregnant, you mean? Mm-hmm. I think my rule of thumb, and this is something that I got from my mentor, Dr. Leah Hitchman, is what gets you pregnant keeps you pregnant, and then you don't want nothing new on race day. So there's things that we want to introduce, but you want to be careful in introducing them when you don't know the system. So this is why I'm such a proponent of doing testing before you even think about trying to conceive. You should be resolving your gut issue at least a year before you're trying to conceive, because if you've had IBS, IBD, you have nutrient deficiencies. And those nutrient deficiencies are not addressed with just a prenatal, and it's not something that the body can just catch up. I know you've watched your wife go through 3 for one trimester 1.
Yeah.
How much could she eat? How many aversions did she get sick? She might have been lucky and didn't have a lot of aversions. I have women who can't eat anything but saltine crackers, even though we've done all the prep work. Every baby is going to ask you to do something different. So that first trimester is quote unquote a write-off. So there's a lot of inflammation and things that are holding on. So I use curcumin is probably the most, that's I don't like recommending supplements blankly, because then people are going out and getting things that are not
Absolutely.
very
We
high
need to be
quality.
careful.
They don't know the dosages that they're doing. They don't know what it's doing. They think going to Costco or just picking up this brand that actually has soy lecithin in it, which is going to spike their estrogen, and they're already estrogen dominant, they're not going to have the same impact as something that, let's say it's a liposomal curcumin, because they need something more for the nervous system versus the gut and the powder. So, but curcumin is like every single one of our patients in our clinic is on a curcumin. And that's something that they stay on through the entire pregnancy and postpartum, because that's not new to the system. And then if we're talking about coagulation issues, and with all the coagulation issues that we're in, cardiovascular issues that we're seeing now post-COVID, post-vaccinations, I'm seeing that we need something that's going to help to thin and break up that blood. And we are using a lot of proteolytic enzymes as well. And so I don't introduce anything new in pregnancy, or if I do, it's very slow. And I usually have blood work, and I'm just going, because you have to be cautious and you have to be present with this woman. I don't know her body. And now she's pregnant, and there's an alien that's taking over and essentially running the show.
An alien.
And I'm just seeing, right? I'm just seeing how her body is responding to that.
Yeah.
So I like to make sure that I know my women before. And then, I've had a couple of couples who got pregnant the minute we started working together, and the minute we got all the labs back. But when I get the labs back, at least I know what she needs. And then I just go really, really slow. And then I tend to just track her a lot more. What I would say is food, like curcumin through food, turmeric is probably one of the safest things that you can do. And it has so many benefits around the inflammation of the gut and pulling toxins. And you don't want to stimulate detox, but you're constantly are bombarded with things. So can we have something that's coming in like fiber and turmeric that's just going to pull those things, hold on to it, and let you get it out of the GI tract? So then I'll just lean more towards food, because there's a lot less, whether it's side effects or issues. And women are so sensitive in pregnancy that if I just slowly climb them up, and I'll say it has to be organic and it has to be really high quality, like, I have like 2 turmeric powders I like that I will consume. Other ones I'm like, even if they're organic, sometimes they just don't feel quite right. So there's that component as well.
I love that. And I really think the important part of what you said is trying to heal the gut beforehand. When anyone comes in and says, I want to be pregnant. Now, we get a lot of people who are saying, I'm already pregnant, I'm 6 months in, or I'm already breastfeeding. And we commonly say, hey, I'm in a flare once I got pregnant. I'm in a flare once I had the baby. What do I do now? Now, our hands are a little tied behind our back because there's a lot of sensitive information and sensitive ideals of what's happening, what's making it in the breast milk. And I think it's important for us to be aware that the doctors
Everything
are
is making it into the breast milk. Everything is making it into the breast milk within 30 minutes of what you consumed. So like if you have vitamin C, for example, is one of the fastest things that's going to go through. So if a woman is taking high doses of vitamin C, your baby is going to have a rash. Within that 30 minutes, the baby will get that milk, the gut will get irritated, and he or she will start pooping, and it will be really like red, irritated rash, because they don't have their tolerance to vitamin C is much lower because they're so much smaller. So everything makes it into the breast milk, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I made a post about that, got a lot of heat, but that's the truth. It is a detox mechanism for the body.
And I think it pairs into what you said is what got you pregnant keeps you pregnant if you have this consistency. And a lot of times what we really focus on and the highlights we see that really help is how can I support the gut in a way that also we believe is supporting the fetus growth or the baby. And that's going to come down to like really authentic beneficial bacteria, probiotics. We love to use single strain probiotics, focusing on Bifidobacterium bifidum, and especially highlight this. I think every woman who's had GI issues needs to be aware of the value of Bifido infantis. There's great clinical research on B. infantis for pregnancy and its need to develop a healthy microbiome in your baby and reduce the chance that your son or daughter gets IBD and IBS. So with my wife, we kept her on powdered probiotics. We use Natron. That's the one we were like. It's single ingredient powdered probiotics. And we focused on B. infantis, Bifidobacterium bifidum. And then because she didn't have histamine issues or MCAS, any of those issues, we started making sure she was getting an acidophilus, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. But that really helped her with any constipation as the baby's growing and your bowels are starting to shrink and get tighter because of the baby growth. She started getting maybe a little bit of hemorrhoids or constipation, and that really helped move things through. And it helped with just absorption and healthy mucosal membrane. And another one I really love is the liposomal phosphatidyl complex by Body Bio. I don't know if you've used a lot of that, but I've really loved it.
That's...
And it's so good. And if you look at the research for what choline does for the gut lining, and you look at it does for the baby, you're like, this is just a win-win. Pretty much anyone with IBD should be considering long-term use of choline, right?
Yeah.
These lipid fats.
If you're pregnant, yes, everybody is on choline. It just depends on the dose that they need. And typically, in breastfeeding for sure. My babies are on choline, especially my eldest. She can swallow the big caps. The youngest one, I just forget to give her the liquid sometimes. But choline is number one.
It depends. Like if certain people have problems with bile flow, liver backup, some people can Herx on it. It's not necessarily a Herx. It's more of like the choline can help with stagnant flow in your body that then pushes out certain toxins or pushes stagnant bile, which bile's carrying toxins from your liver. So it can create a cascade of effect. You have to work up to it. Or if you just can't break down fats very well, I find a lot of people get gas, foul-smelling gas or irritation when they first take it. Taking it with a meal, using some digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, or ox bile to also support the digestive process can help. But that's kind of where we've also found, where can we get a win-win? And the win-wins are, everyone's going to be scared of things like antimicrobials, and rightfully so, or too much liver support, too much lymph, anything that's going to be pushing toxins, or, even chelators. How is that going to affect a baby? So, but where we can
during
really win,
pregnancy, you don't want to, I'm very cautious during pregnancy when I don't know a case, and even telling people what to do.
Yes.
It's like, again, my ideal is that you have things already sorted beforehand. And then I feel very safe recommending foods. And so if you're trying to optimize species, so in pregnancy, as the woman continues further into pregnancy, her species actually decrease. And not that they decrease, the diversity changes. So she is predominantly lactobacilli species and very, very little bifido. So I would have to check on the bifido infinite, because I know there's some bifido, but it's very little. Lactobacillus crispatus is very important for women during pregnancy. And so that's, again, something I'd like to test before, so we know what the vaginal microbiome state is at, and then you can support it and make sure if there's any yeast infections or things like that. There's times where medication is necessary because you essentially just don't want that pathogen hanging around. And there's times where you need to take antibiotics, and the pros are going to outweigh the cons. But food is so powerful because the gut, essentially, it begins to, from the moment you find out you are pregnant, the absorption of nutrient increases in the gut. So whatever the woman is eating is just going to go tenfold. So this is where I'm like, you're going to the farmer's market, you're taking foods that are from the environment. Like, it's just such a different food though, something that's even organic, but wrapped in plastic and traveled from a further distance versus this farmer that grew it from the land that you are in. I think it's how good can we make that before we jump into the supplements. And usually a really good protein powder I find is almost necessary. And typically your IBS, IBD patients are probably sensitive to whey. So then finding a good, whether it's a vegan source or beef protein isolates. I don't know if you have your
hydrolyzed beef protein. Yeah, hydrolyzed beef protein, we find that a lot of our women do really well with that even when they're pregnant. And we use like a pressure cooked pea protein if they want to be vegan. Or just, also focusing on, if we can get it through meat, a lot of times we want to get it through those clean
the
meats.
nutrients themselves.
I'll tell you another one that I see irritant is blackened meat. It's one thing, you can get the best steak, but you're doing it on high temperature and blacking it when you're dealing with IBD and your body's just a little bit more sensitive. That can be irritating to the gut. So one of the things can not just, 100% food quality, 10 out of 10. The way it's prepared also can be the difference between getting a reaction or not getting a reaction or absorbing it. So pressure cooking, that's where like people are barbecuing. Hey, I'm eating organic, and you just got these massive flames with this really high temperature. Be careful of blackened meat and pepper. People could take this perfectly good food, they'll put some oil on it, they'll put some pepper. Pepper's an irritant. That's why most curcumins use black pepper to try to get the absorbent level of curcumin at a higher, because it drives into the gut lining and irritates the gut lining. So no black pepper, none, no black pepper to help with that gut lining. And with curcumin, you were saying, do I need it systemic? That's a good point. I only use regular, clean C3 curcumin that's organic with nothing else in it because I want it to get to the colon. I don't want it to absorb. I want it to coat the gut lining, which is the number one problem. And then I'm very cautious with things like caffeine, or because certain coffees could affect your absorption, which is already an absorption issue with IBD, of magnesium and zinc and other and really important minerals and vitamins to your immune system, to fighting off probably hidden chronic viruses. People with IBD, commonly I find recurring Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes simplex virus, varicella virus. And so that's
all
where
of the
immune
viruses.
system, all of these viruses.
COVID. Have you seen a lot of post-COVID stuff though? Like, spike protein clearance. That's a big thing right now.
Yeah. We don't test for it nearly as much as you because we're doing IBD, but we haven't seen it as much as I thought, or I hear other practitioners seeing. So
start testing it, you'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh God. I mean, a lot of the protocols that you're doing are already probably dealing with it, but I was the same. I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. And then I'm testing it. I was like, everybody has the spike protein and everybody is really impacted.
And it's trying to work around that when you're with the pregnancy or pre-pregnancy. But we've had a lot of people go through and work with our program. And we have 2 doctors on staff, and all our coaches have IBD. And while we do, we see IBD, and we see it around the world. We have clients in India, Africa, Europe, Canada. We have certain coaches who are more specialists with pregnant women because they just know that they've either had children themselves, and they also have IBD. So we really just try to niche down on all that type of stuff. And but completely agree. There's so many variables you have to be aware of, but I think a lot of people just have to realize, what can you do that's safe for you, safe for baby, and the doctor's not going to make you go home and have a panic attack about your decision, because that's another question. You and I might say something, but they're going to go see their doctor,
OBGYN,
and they're going to go, I've never heard of this, I don't know what this is. And then it said here, speak with your doctor before taking for liability reasons, and the doctor's going to freak them out. And at the same time, the doctor's going, well,
and then
I think
prescribe
we should
them a prenatal
Remicade.
folic acid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Or, this regular folic acid, or like some crappy iron that's not bioavailable because they're slightly anemic and they're not getting a good bisglycinate iron or a nano-sized iron that actually works. Or they're just not even getting copper in their body, or deficient in B12 or vitamin C that helps with the uptake or absorption of the iron. These are all things we're not seeing. And I've actually seen a lot of women, ladies out there, if you can handle it, I promise, a little bit of liver can go a long way. I've seen it really help a lot of people who are chronically anemic or have chronic low ferritin, because the liver has all of those nutrients together to help create that iron binding capacity in your bloodstream and your red blood cells.
I do find my low ferritin women though usually have a high parasitic load. So like just a 3-month course of ivermectin, it's been insane. Like just doubling their iron without iron supplementation of any kind. So typically, or if they're bleeding a lot, then it's estrogen dominance, but then that estrogen dominance is usually fed by histamine, and the histamine is being driven by some kind of infection. So it's just finding where it is. Is it the vaginal microbiome? Is it the gut? Is it the blood? But for pregnant women, most pregnant women need to be on iron, and whether that's in the 3rd trimester or in the 1st trimester just depends on the stores that they walked into the pregnancy, because the demand is just going to be so much higher. And then there's the hemodilution, because there's more blood volume, so you're naturally are going to have lower iron stores. But yeah, I don't know if you've noticed that as well with doing like an anti-parasitic cleanse of sorts and seeing the iron levels go to a different level. We have,
because we know parasites eat iron, and we don't know if that's always it. I think that with IBD, we commonly see parasites, but it's more of an advanced protocol, and we have to be careful of that. A lot of people with IBD also are dealing with super biofilms and 10, 15 years of infection. So it's another level of, no, we can't do a parasite cleanse. We can't just put you on mimosa pudica or ivermectin right now. We need to work on drainage. We need to start with lighter things, sweet wormwood, and see how you respond to it, berberine, wild oregano. But we take time to work up to that stuff, but it's great to hear that ivermectins work to that level for you.
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
This depends.
Do you usually do like 1 milligram per 10 pounds, generally speaking?
I've just been doing 12. So, and then for kids,
so
like my
100
kids
pound,
are
200
on
pound,
6.
12
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I do it for long term. I do it longer,
Twice a
and I
day?
find no, just
once with a meal.
once a day. Yeah, and then whether morning or night, and because then I'm doing glutathione, I'm doing curcumin, I'm doing proteolytic enzymes, I'm doing methylation support, and whether that's they need glycine or they need
Yeah.
B2 and B3 or
Magnesium.
so then like it all except magnesium, so like it just all works together, and I find I don't have to hammer the body, but I do have to prep people. Usually ivermectin is pretty well handled, but if we're doing any further killing, we treat a lot of ureaplasma. It's not something that I treat right off the bat because the part of the treatment is like azithromycin and doxycycline if you want to go the antibiotic route. And for most of our clients, we end up because it's going to take 6 weeks or it's going to take a year,
Yeah.
like 6 weeks to 3 months to clear it versus a year in the fertility space. Most people don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
And the azethro just breaks up all the biofilms. So if you don't pair it with a doxy or if you don't have some drainage, it's like the person just tanks and
Just
whether
gets
they
ripped. Yeah.
wrecked exactly. And or I've seen people, and we track a lot of data, so I've seen people go through it and just their HRV skyrockets again and they feel so different. So you got to do the prep work before it, otherwise it can wreck you. It's not just, oh, okay, I'll take ivermectin. And I think part of it is also just bringing the infection out to the surface. So the reason that I can tell somebody that they need ivermectin is because I'm looking for these multiple markers. Oh, eosinophils are elevated. There's a mess in the gut, not necessarily parasite, but there is the IgA is really low. You have beta glucuronidase that's elevated. There's a lot of histamine production. Now white blood cells are starting to dip. You're starting to see the CRP is really high. This inflammation is high. The ferritin and the iron and all it's low, especially in my males.
Well, that's indicative. Yeah, the iron's the big one because it could be bacteria or fungal with a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Causing
Yeah.
liver and CRP to be elevated or beta glucuronidase or your SIGA to be exposed. Your SIGA could be exposed because you just got E. coli. Your SIGA could be or decrease because you're under a lot of stress with adrenal fatigue and your immune system's just whacked. But I think another one, elevated eosinophils or neutrophils, I think is another really big one, especially if you see those two with iron, absolutely, you need to do it. But if you do it wrong, you're going to hurt yourself. So we consider parasite cleanse advanced, especially with people with chronic inflammatory bowel disease.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, we don't touch it until we've gotten through. But a lot of times you can get yourself feeling great. And I think that's where a lot of pregnant women get is they go, wow, I got rid of gluten, I changed my diet, I did some anti-inflammatory protocols, I worked my drainage, my symptoms went away. Time to get pregnant. It's like, no, wait, you actually need to go and actually go after these pathogens because you tested positive for them. What stool tests are you finding that is most effective? We've been using the gut zoomer for years and the GI map, but I think there might be some.
Yes.
Oh.
So I've switched to US Biotech Gut IQ. I've been using it probably for at least the last year.
You like it?
Yeah, I love it.
You feel like it's just as effective? They don't have all the same inflammatory markers as the gut zoomer, like the MMP9 and the lactoferrin and all that.
Yeah, but they have enough, and they have the histamine and antioxidant. I just like the presentation a little bit better. You'll get used to reading it, of course.
Yeah.
And then we love their vaginal microbiome and complicated UTI screen and, because we're looking for infections. I know that there's a microbial imbalance. If a woman has endo, if she has PCOS or unexplained infertility, autoimmune, I know that there's a microbial imbalance, and I'm just trying to figure out where it's sitting. So I really liked it. I think you should try it on yourself and see what you think. But
one of my practitioners just reached out to me and she goes, "Can we get this test? Because I think I'm really excited."
Yeah.
It's a 2-day sample, right?
No, it is just one day, I believe.
Day?
It's just,
It's a
but
one-day
it's
sample?
it's one day, but it's 2 different samples and 2 different you collected, and I think 3 different.
But one
And
stool.
then they do
One stool
just one
sample.
stool. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to test patients 3 stools.
Me too.
Do you know what I mean? And like-
GI 360 does that, but
But I mean, just like day 5 of the cycle, day 14 of the cycle, day 19, like test it throughout the entire, right? Because you're just looking at one sample. So sometimes I think there's also a component where somebody doesn't want to find out the answers because they get very anxious and they don't want to find out
Stressful.
if anything is wrong with them. Like the pathogens will, but you'll still see it. Like if I've seen the secretory IgA, which is a marker for immune system, I've seen it at like 70 for someone.
Wow.
And ideal is at 1,000. And you're just like, what's happening? And you're right, there is an adrenal component to it. And it's like this person just doesn't stop and they go. But they ask, Well, why are they like that? When did they learn that, taking care of yourself or slowing down, or that their worth is tied to how much they work or how much they do, and whether that's being a mother or being a CEO or whatever. And then I still do think it comes down to a pathogen and a worthiness, and that's typically where we get into those viral components. And a lot of our viral components, I don't want to say we don't address them, but it's like to really work with a virus, you're talking about a very long journey, and that's something that in the fertility space we don't have time. So we just clean up things that we need to, keep the virus at bay, and then on we go to the next thing and see how we can get this couple of baby.
Well, I agree with you. And I think everyone with this whole idea of pathogen, whenever you're stressed, you're chronically stressed, and you're living in that type A, your immune system's getting suppressed. You're not sleeping as well. Your digestion's going to take a hit. Your microbiome's going to take a hit. So you are now in a better place to get infection. And if you're eating pork and sushi and other kind of unclean food, the chance of any of these parasitic eggs getting through your stomach acid into your small intestine, into a weakened immune system that's not going to have the diversity and the white blood cells to even attack and kill off that thing. You're just more like you're just a better host for pathogens. And I think that's why even I got sick. I mean, I got a little sick and then deathly sick. So when I was first diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, it was 7 centimeters, very small, very minute. I had IBS before that. Then it was Crohn's. Then it was widespread IBD with gastritis. Then it was life-threatening, and it was in my entire GI tract.
The pathogens were just running the show at that point, right?
And part of the reason I was in a state of chronic stress. So when you get sick, it causes you more stress, and then the vicious cycle, just continues to just compound itself. So I think anyone who's lived in that go-getter Western theology of I've got to just do everything now and get rich now and get everything now and take 2 hours and 5 cups of coffee, you are creating the perfect environment as a host for those problems. And your systems are wrecked. You don't have an immune system, the digestive process to protect you. I mean, your stomach acid is the main line of defense to protect your small intestine and your colon from certain infections. So it's
and I do think that when we go very far, like I want to know what pregnancy was like. I want to know the state of your mom's and your dad's health when they were pregnant with you, because I do think that the microbiome gets set in the womb. And so then you're looking at the health of the mother, and not to I have plenty of my own lessons with my kids and things that I wish I would have done differently. But I'm also the kind of person that I like to have answers, because that gives me peace, and that also allows me to move through the journey and to work with what now has been presented. And if that we look at that microbiome being reset. So I had cold sores when I was pregnant with my first, basically every month for 5 months, I would say. I can't remember exactly, but I didn't think anything of it. And it was like, oh, I'm stressed, we're buying a gym, I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that's now part of my daughter's DNA.
Yeah.
And whether I want to admit that or not, I can see that in her brain. I can see that in her mood. I can see that now if I compare her to the average, North American child, it's like, well, she's 10 times better because she is taking curcumin and choline, and she eats organic food, and she drinks filtered water. But I can still see the irritation in her system and how it's driving it. Is it something that I can work through with her now? I don't, yes, I do, but it's a lot more actual, spiritual work than it is physical, trying to cleanse her, because she's, the soul is not quite ready for that. But I think about, why are we in this world and in this state where you are determining your worth based on what you do and how much you accomplish, versus just when you look at a baby, you love that baby no matter what. Even if they're, imperfect, to you, that's your baby. And there's a lot of, the ups and downs as you are going through all of that right now. When did we forget that? And when did we start? And I do think it comes down to the microbiome, and that how long ago was it the chicken or the egg? I don't know. That's where I'm exploring a lot more. But I definitely think that we have pathogens that are driving the show. And COVID was a big thing that changed stuff too. And we can see that in our population right now.
Well, I think the light of what you're saying is this is a problem, but the light of what we all can do about that is when you fall in love with natural healing, when you fall in love with functional medicine, you get to that energetic
With your
point.
body. When you fall in love
Yeah.
with your body, that's all natural
Yeah.
medicine is. Don't you think that? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, my
Well,
body's
I'd say
trying
it's the
so
compass.
hard.
Well, I think the compass is the fall in love with your body and self-love and self-respect.
Yes.
It's a faith that
Yeah.
more and is not meant to be sick. But to know about what we're talking about today, to know about these vitamins or minerals or fats or all these different body and how it works is hard. And it's even harder when you have a baby inside of you or breastfeeding a baby and what to do about that. But
Oh,
a lot
yeah,
of what
it's
we're
much
saying is
harder.
win-win, you know? If you work on your nervous system, you get more sunlight, that's going to help with a virus, that's going to help with your adrenals, that's going to help with your immune system, that's going to help with your gut lining because of things like VDR, like your vitamin D receptors throughout your gut lining are going to make sure that's tight and strong. That's why we see less autoimmune disease closer to the equator. So every mom right now who's like, I'm stressed, I'm freaking out, get in the sun, go on vacation. It is, you know, especially if it's summertime where you're at in this world. So these are, when we learn these things, it's like we ride the wave of this supernatural intelligence, God's intelligence, and saying like, I don't have to be the answer, you know. And I think that's part of what you're saying is, hey, we stress on ourselves. Well, you can, with natural medicine, you get to a point where you go, wait a minute, the next level of health is to put it down. Whoa,
Exactly.
whoa!
Yeah.
Like
The next level
of
to chill out.
let me use this word real quick. The next level of productivity, to be productive in my own health, my own markers, is to put it down, is to literally stop working and get in the ocean, go for a walk, get your feet in the ground, you know. And that's where I think, as you said earlier, the more we do of that with the earth, the less we have to focus on supplements. And I think one of the big questions a lot of people come to me and they go, why do I have to take these supplements? How long do I have to take these supplements? Is this
How much time do you have?
How important? Well, but I do want to answer this. I say the more you fall in love with building a life that is super connected to Mother Nature as it is without human, you know, intervention, the less you need to take. So that's the poll. Like the more you want to go on a farm and make your own food and do all this, I'm not so much worried about your vitamin K levels from the soil if you're going to have a regenerative farm. I'm not worried about your choline as much. I'm not worried about your zinc and your boron. Okay?
Or vitamin D.
So say, look, we are supplementing the lack of what we have in our culture and the lies that we were told in Western world. And I think there's a really harmonious win-win in pregnancy with that. It's like fall in love with this idea of being healthy and your children will be healthier and then your home will be healthier. And that's what I brought to my home as a person who nearly died of IBD and serves to help people with IBD. I want to build a healing home. I want to build a place of love and truth and get people empowered with this disease because it nearly killed me and it was the worst thing that happened to my family when I was a kid. And do that.
That's so stressful.
Oh, God. Well, stress, I mean, you went through stress, right? You're here helping and serving people through stress, pain to purpose. No one has a great purpose in life without pain. If anyone says, I don't know what I want to do with my life, I always say, well, what's the worst thing that ever happened to you? What caused you pain? And I'll bet you'll find some purpose right there. Do you want to do it for a living? I don't know, but I'll bet you'll find some purpose. Yeah. If you ever got hurt or abused and you see something else, like a dog or a person getting hurt or abused, you're going to feel a sense of purpose to help. You know, like I have a sense of purpose of helping people who have 20 bloody bowel movements a day or losing 60 pounds of weight or told they have to get their colon removed or just the only thing you can do is live on Entyvio or a JAK inhibitor for the rest of your life. And yeah, exactly. And so as mothers, it's, you know, what is our purpose? Our purpose is we desperately want to be healthy and create health in our children. And we need to divorce the fake Western life. And we need to you need to rebuild it. And it doesn't happen over, you know, just like you said, healing takes a year. I think it's the same thing with building your healing home. Like you were talking earlier, before this, you're like, I got like 20 Jaspers. It's like, you are
7, okay?
Okay, 7, okay. Your healing home, I'm the same way, Jane. Like, I never went out there. Yeah. Just if you want to go down this road, you know what down this road is more? Invest more time and money, your 3 currencies, into your healing home. I got a Jasper 2 feet from me by the way.
I had to turn mine down so the recording could be okay.
When I was younger, when I was a young man, I lived in Southern California, and I really wanted like a James Bond Porsche. I was like, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to build my company, 60 hours a week, do everything we talked about, don't do today. I'm going to do all that. I'm going to go buy this stupid Porsche that's so and then I got to the point where I could get one, and I was like, you know what? No. I went and bought an F-150 truck.
Did you
I
lift
bought
it?
it. I 3 inches, not douchey lift, just a little, just enough for the
We're
family.
driving my in-law for 250, and he lifts all his cars because we're waiting for our car to come in. So
Hey,
it's
if
the most
someone
ridiculous
T-bones you,
thing.
everyone's safe. That's what I tell everyone. I'm like, we're safe,
Mama's
guys.
coming.
Yeah, and I always tell them, like, my wife now agrees. I'm like, babe, if anyone hits us, like, we are good in this thing.
good, yes.
And so, but every European friend comes over, is like, what is this thing? Like, what are you?
I need an arm pull. I need
But-
to be able to do a pull-up to get into this thing.
I want to give everyone, you know what I did is I kept meditating and praying on it, and I took the extra money and I bought a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Right.
Like, I got in my HBOP this morning at 2 atmospheric pressure at 95% oxygen density, eliminating hypoxia, helping to reduce any inflammation because I'm driving oxygen in the cell, which is the number one reason people are getting cancer is the lack of oxygen and an inflamed area in your body. And it's like, you can look at this life, and I hope this gives someone that aha of, like, if you're in a place and you're thinking of investing in your health, it's like, look at everything else you're investing in and saying, what does this do for me? Like, I couldn't fit my golf clubs in the Porsche. That was the final straw, by the way. I was like, I tried to put my golf clubs in this Porsche, and I was like, nope, that's it. Like, I can't go anywhere with this thing. This thing is a waste of money. It costs way too much money. The insurance is crazy.
It's impractical.
So dumb. And so I just cut all my expenses in half, and I bought a hard chamber hyperbaric oxygen, which I got a great deal on and got great financing on. And and it's years later, and I get in that thing all the time. Build your healing home. As mamas out there, and even dads, like, build a home that the whole family gets healthier. If you're worried about your child, the more you invest in that, guess what? I have a red light therapy. I have red light, near infrared light. I can use that on my 3-month-old son. He just had, unfortunately, a clubfoot, which has been a whole thing for us. But, I'm now starting to use near infrared light. I mean, there's not a lot of clinical research on it, but just a little bit to help with the bruising, a little arnica gel to help with the bruising. And this is all things that I'm bringing from my pain to my baby. So, mamas, what pain is turning to purpose for the people you love the most in this world? And build that healing home. Invest in your home. Invest in your doctors like Dr. Jane. Invest in your community. Get connected with like-minded people. I built something called IBD University. Thousands of people around the world all talking every day with IBD because, my God, was I alone with this thing. Yep. And I know a lot of us are alone. We need to be around people with the same diagnosis and the same mission, and we will win together. We
do need more people in our community. I think there's not a lot of people to look up to. You said some incredible things. I have one for you, though. Mm-hmm. You're here now, and you're in a place where you can invest and build the home, and you've been working on it for a long time. But when you were in that state of, like, close to death, how did you know you had to go here? Because I think there's a decision, and I remember, like, my decision process was I was living student loans, and I met this naturopath, and I'm like, I know that this naturopath is going to help me, just the way that he talked to me and saw me. And I just made the decision to go, if I don't solve this, I'm never going to be able to make money. I'm never going to be able to find a partner. I'm never going to be able to. And so I invested in myself, but that was a risk. And I think there's people who are just not able to handle that risk. Like, I have a higher tolerance for money risk. Like, I can take certain money risks like that, and that doesn't stress me out. Whereas for someone like my sister, she wouldn't be able to do that unless she had a certain amount of money in the bank, And so I'm curious, what was your process when you weren't where you are now and, on your deathbed, if you will?
Yeah. So my process was, and I had, I was more like your sister. I was a little bit of a hoarder. I wanted to invest. I wanted to create wealth. I wanted to invest in real estate more than invest in my health. Like, well, I'll figure out my health. Let me do something that'll make me 8% IR, or 20% IRR, all that type of stuff. And I want to build a company, all that. And that was wrong, and it was stupid, and it cost me years of more suffering. So I got to a point where I realized that I might have not spent that $10,000, but I just spent the last 6 months in pain and then slowly buying things on the internet for $30, $60, $100 that didn't work, and I had a cabinet full of crap that didn't make sense. Right. And the biggest, and when I meditated on it, I realized that there were two main problems. Number one, I was spending money on things that didn't actually matter. That was the big thing I fixed and really helped me. Number two is I wasn't investing in things that I was identifying had integrity. Meaning, if you invest $3,000 in something that doesn't make a lot of sense, it's probably going to be a waste of money more than $10,000 that makes a lot of sense. And the biggest problem with the 3K and the 10K deal is the integrity. So things I started finding when I made investments. Number one, generic plans don't work. I stopped investing, just teach me the generic diet and the generic supplements. Number two, investing in really great people who don't have a specialization in my problem. I invested a lot in naturopath doctors who were really brilliant people, medical doctors, really great people. I really love them. They didn't know what to do with life-threatening Crohn's and colitis. They had no experience. They couldn't show me testimonies of helping
Well,
them.
because it wasn't their stories, yeah.
They just didn't, they hadn't been there. They were just telling me, it was like, yeah, slippery elm, marshmallow root, a probiotic, vitamin D with vitamin K. It was like, we all get, like, there wasn't that, I've seen this, here's indigo, this is how DMSO works, this is what's, we think is causing the fistula, this is the underlying parasites, this is what you have to, we just didn't, it wasn't there. And so when I started breaking free, I first reduced all my expenses. So when I was really sick, I started realizing that because I was low on resources, I had to be resourceful. So I made an emotional decision that I was not going to invest my time, energy, and money unless it absolutely helped me heal. And then I was not going to care if it was $3,000 or $10,000. I was going to do the thing that I thought was going to give me what I wanted out of my life. So I was less worried about money, and I was more worried about integrity and how much I intuitively believed it would impact me. And the problem is with a lot of people with money is they don't have a sharp intuition and they don't trust themselves. So if you're not working on yourself, then you have no idea what's going to work. The little thing Jane maybe didn't mention is she was already putting in a lot of studying and a lot of understanding of her own body, that when she met someone, she was able to be aware of how intelligent, how strong of moral code that person was.
I went through a couple other naturopaths before I met this person. Yeah.
So your intuition wasn't sharp enough. I think a lot of us are suffering. We tend to get on some call, it's some sales call, and we've never done any of the work. And so we're completely blind to.
You've got to sharpen the intuition, Dana. I love that. I love that. That's so good, because it's true. That's what I try to teach. But you put it beautifully. You have to sharpen the intuition, and you sharpen it by going through these experiences that don't necessarily go as you thought they would. But you have to pull the plug on those quickly, so then you can move on to the next thing. Because it's like, how many mentors have you invested in that didn't work out the way that you thought they would work out?
I mean, $15,000, $20,000 mentors. I've spent a lot more than
minimum.
It's just like I've spent so. But the thing is, that's where intuition comes from. So that's where nowadays I go, it's not a bad investment because I am committed to growth. So you have to ask yourself, what are you committed to? What are you doing in this life? And then just sharpen your intuition around that. And then when you say intuition, if you're not trying and doing things, you're not going to be sharp. And if you're not actually committed and this isn't your number one priority, you're not going to get as much out of it. And that's not the doctor's fault. If you're going to get private coaching and you're going to get months and months of support and they're going to be there for you and they're going to be committed to you, if it's cheap, I'm worried. What are we talking about? So remember, and then the other thing. Do you
want discounts on IVF? I don't know if you do.
Exactly. Okay.
I don't know if I want a discount on that.
last thing that's the game for me with investing in myself is I realized that there were three currencies, okay? There's time, energy, and money, okay? And when I really meditated on it, I realized that money was the least valuable currency. I could spend 100,000, let's say stem cells, okay, for good, and this is out of the country, 2025, Dr. Royden, Dr. Gonzalez. I've done these. I've been in cell therapies. I get, okay, if you don't do the work on yourself and you spend $25,000 on stem cells, they're going to wear off and they're not going to work. That's an example of how if you don't put the time and energy into things, you can spend all the money you want. You could spend all this money on peptides, exosomes. You could change your blood out like filter. You could do EBU. I've done natural killer cell therapy. That's like $45,000 where you're killing off cancer cells and all that stuff. If you don't do the work, it won't last. It won't kick in. All of it. I've seen the most expensive stuff. So the currencies, you have to understand that your time and energy is the most valuable resources that you need to use. If you're with those two, and then you think about money, like my wife just bought some program for $3,000, and I said, you know what your problem is? You needed the $10,000 program. She did. It wasn't for her health. It was for her business. It was for her business, and it was all this group coaching, a bunch of lectures, and watch these trainings. And she's got 3 kids. I said you needed private, customized plans. You needed people. You're already your business at a higher level. You needed someone who had that experience, that knowledge, and really dive. And I said it wouldn't have probably. And I just told her if it ends up being a waste, it's because it was you needed the higher ticket thing. And I think that's what people have to come out is save your money and go for something that's actually going to work, that you have trust and integrity in. And then look for practitioners.
Buy once or buy twice.
Yeah, it's like 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, 3 didn't, But I would say the biggest thing also to get away from money and sales pitch stuff is whoever you work with has to build trust and integrity with you. The number one thing I always tell people is I don't want any money if I don't have trust and integrity, and you're going to come at me with morals, or this is going to be illegal or liability. I don't want it. It's not worth it in my life. I think same with you, Dr. Jane. good
No, God,
people with
no.
good integrity, you're going to scare them off. They're not going to want to work with you. It doesn't matter if you offer them 20 grand. It doesn't matter if it's right. So you want people who are, you want people who are going to listen and help you, be willing to go above and beyond because you have a great relationship. They need a great relationship with you. You need a great relationship with them. Work with people who are customizing plans, aren't just using generic supplements, who are going the extra mile with things, who are trying to help you on when something's happening, speed bumps. I do private coaching only with my team. We've got 2 doctors, 7 coaches. I didn't do coaching, even though it's a much scalable business model, because I just knew my impact was going to drop by 30 or 40%, and people are going to be more angry, and it was just going to become more of a marketing thing. And I just said, I just don't want to sleep like that at night. I just don't want.
That's not why I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I'm not here. I'm not
I
build a
down my
$20 million
group.
McDonald's drive-through. I'm just not
Yeah,
do that. Yeah.
yeah, and I love that you say that because I think it elevates us as practitioners, and I know that there's a lot of practitioners listening, but like we have to be good at what we do, and we have to provide results, and that's why people give us money. That's the currency
Yeah.
exchange that they're giving us. So when we're not good, you're putting it. And I think from practitioners, it sucks when you can't help people. But I hope that I use that as fuel to this day, and I continue to invest into mentors because you're going to get harder and harder cases. And I think that's a testament, and then you're like, that's a challenge. If it's in front of me, then that means I'm ready for it. So who is it that I need to become in order to be able to help this person sitting in front of me, or this couple? And whether that's me practicing humility or learning something new in the fertility space or in the conventional and IVF space, so then I can guide people through it, that I just kind of am, a blank sheet to receive and to say, hey, who do I need to become so I can help? So I love that you said that. You didn't know before you met her after IBD.
We're lucky. We're just my wife is a very healthy person naturally. We both don't.
Are you lucky, or did you just attract that because you healed and then that's when you met
you're
her?
right. I attracted. I didn't care. I got to a point in my life where when I was dating, and I know a lot of women are getting here, and men are a little behind on this because I'm seeing a lot of women getting interested in functional medicine than men. Probably like out of a few thousand people, it's like 63% women, 37%, something like that, right? But when I started dating, I was not willing to date anyone who did not prioritize health. So if you were really into fast food or junk food, it just wasn't going to work. We eat one of our meals at home to this day. We can afford restaurants. My goal.
They don't have the food the way that we have it.
Well, I live
Like
in Orange County, so they've got king food.
Probably.
They've got tons, but it's still like we cook at home. Like I make my own bone broth. I like to do Feast and Sabbath on Sundays, and I'm making bone broth the way I like it, without any garlic or black pepper, and I use only chicken back because I don't like the taste of chicken feet. Sorry, just sweaty chicken feet, drinking it's not my thing. So the celery makes it a little bitter. I'd rather just the carrot. So I just kind of customize. I use distilled water because it's more of a solvent, and these little things. I'm like, it's just better. And even though I can get organic chicken broth,
You're a
down the road.
chemist.
Yeah, you do it long enough, and
Yes,
and
I
like
love
when we
that.
cook, I don't hamburger meat without grass-fed liver infused. And I get it 10% infused. It's the perfect ratio. I can't even taste it. And it just is, my kids love it. And it's like
so
$15 a
good.
pound to buy. And it's like, and I feel amazing. I put on a cast iron skillet, and I just have lots of fermented foods with it. And I just feel with it. And so that's where we put our, hey, could we get a cook to help us? Hey, can we batch create? Hey, let's take a little extra time. And when we eat, we only have specific places we go.
Because
And,
it just allows you to expand as a person, like I think for me, when I realized with IBS, for me, I didn't have a partner, and that was a big pain point for me. And that's what my naturopath also realized. So I had a lot of stuff I had to work through around loneliness and rejection and that was to all my symptoms. And of course I needed some of the supplements to help support, but I also needed the spiritual, mental coaching and understand how that was connected. But if you think about healing and then coming to a different place, and now the life that you are building is different because your vibration is different, that's what I think most people don't quite understand, is that eating different foods changes the vibration and the tone, and that means what you attract into your life becomes different. And it's not like attracts like, and it's helping people understand that when something in your life is happening and you don't like it, it's actually just a reflection of something that we have to work through. And that was probably one of the biggest mind shifts that I made that helped me get out of this. Oh, but I'm working so hard, or I do this, and why are these things not happening to them? And this is, and I can all relate to that, whether that's in the fertility space or in just our life. Like, oh, well, they have more money, or they have this kind of relationship and I don't. It's, your life is literally a reflection of things that you quote unquote need to work through or want to work through, or, it's just there on the surface and you can change it just by changing your chemistry and your biology, your cellular health.
Your frequencies. And I'm sure you're seeing all these frequencies coming, all these frequency companies, and everyone out there, what's coming next pipeline in natural healing is a bunch of frequencies. It's PEMF, it's the new watch, or these other types of watches, or all the signal to your being. You're right. Food is a frequency. How you're feeling. Your house has a certain frequency to it. Light has a frequency to it, and you can change that. And I always like to tell people with organic food, I only ate Papa John's pizza. I only ate McDonald's. I grew up in the middle of nowhere where it was all fast food, and I was 100% addicted. When I first learned what gluten was, I remember the day. I was a kid and I learned what gluten was and they told me not to eat it. I was like, I have gluten for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's all I eat.
Snack gluten, what are you talking about?
And I remember I was reading this book on restrictive eating, and I remember just laughing out loud and closing the book and not opening it up for months. I was like, no one can do this. I remember thinking, laughing, like, only 1% of the population could ever do something like this. This is ridiculous. What a load of crap. That's how I felt about natural healing when I first looked at it. It was a load of crap to me. And,
so then what changed it, though? Like, was it the near-death experience?
Well, suffering. Suffering's a frequency. Well, suffering is a great teacher, and I suffered for a lot of years. So I didn't actually, a lot of people don't know this, I was trying natural healing for 4 years before. Not 4 years. 2 years. 2 years before I died, I had already been rigorously studying and trying naturopathic medicine. With my
because you were desperate. You were like, okay, nothing's working. This gotta work.
I failed all the biologics. Exactly. I mean, Remicade, methotrexate, 6-MP. I'd gotten liver toxicity from 6-MP. I was losing weight. It was like I was falling down an avalanche of losing my 20s. So I was getting desperate and saying, okay, I'll just try this this bone diet for a week. I'll do this restrictive eating for 2 weeks, because my mom would go out and hire these naturopaths who give me this generic diet and generic supplements, and I'd choke them down while I'm binging Netflix and living in my pajamas, unshaven, because I was a sick person waiting for someone else to heal me. And that was the mentality. And then my life changed when I realized no one was coming to save me. I'm the CEO of my health. I have to take something complicated and make it simple and make it work for me. I don't have to be able to cure Crohn's. I just have to be able to reverse my own body. Because Crohn's disease didn't even exist before 1958. Dr. Crohn identified and diagnosed one of the first few people in the 1950s. It was interesting because it was actually... I did a week with a woman named Dr. Carol, who's 72 years old. We not only got her in clinical remission of Crohn's, but her medical doctor striked Crohn's disease from her medical records 7 months into our program.
So
I'd never seen that happen. I was like, holy crap, we quote unquote,
we're doing it.
hashtags cured Crohn's. This doctor literally looked at her pathology and all her non-invasive work, functional lab work, and did a colonoscopy on her, endoscopy, saw no signs of any of it. She was diagnosed at 69, so it was probably just infectious colitis or something. But and then striked it from her medical records. Literally, will not be on her medical records anymore. And she goes, Dane, I just want to let you know, one of my friend's mother was the first person in the United States ever diagnosed with Crohn's disease in the 1950s. Wow. And I was like, what in the world? What a crazy experience. So just remember, all these diseases didn't exist 70 years ago. And but anyways, yeah, the frequencies of all that, like it's all a frequency too. And so how did I do it? I changed this experience, which I think a frequency is a big part of it. But it's almost like if you're addicted to a bad friend or a bad boyfriend or a girlfriend, but there's something it's bittersweet. Something keeps coming back. There's some kind of relationship that you're addicted to. And if you get away from it for long enough and you do the self-work, you go back and you go, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
When I look at McDonald's, Papa John's, Subway, when I look at fried food, when I look at alcohol, and it was a long and hard road. I now have an energy because I'm such in spiritual balance on this side of the fence of like, what was I thinking? And a lot of us get over, and it's a perfect metaphor to think about relationships, because you don't get over a bad relationship that hurt you. Like that food was bittersweet. It hurt me, but I'm so addicted to it until you change. If you want to get over an ex, you have to change. You have to feel like you are a new person, or else they're still judging you. No, that was the old me. They broke up with. The new me, right? I get my hair done. It's a different color. I got the new me. Nah, the new me don't even watch your ass. We don't even watch your ass, the new me, right? And so that's the thing is and I got there with like, when I started, like people would, when I was younger, in my 20s, and I got there, and people would go, hey, you want a slice of pizza? I go, no. And if someone, the point where they'd say like, why don't you eat pizza? I was like, I'd start defending myself. I was like, because I don't poison myself. I would literally start saying aggressive things like, I don't eat trash, bro. I just don't trash myself. That's trash. And so
I'm not a garbage can.
Yeah. So it's like all those women, it's like, see that with that same guy. It's like, hey, do you want to come over for, a one nighter? It's like, nah, because I don't sleep with trash. I don't I take that out of context, guys. I don't want to be too aggressive and aggro here. But there's a sense of standing up, standing up for your life. If you can commit it that this is a better life and everyone else is going to come your way, like they need to eat better and they weren't diagnosed. They don't have fertility issues. They seem to have the perfect life and they're able to eat these crappy bagels and these crappy, food and have 10 cups of Starbucks. Their day is coming. This is a better life. And if you go through those trials in fertility and in pregnancy or post-pregnancy or with breastfeeding, the dividends are coming and they are coming big, I guarantee you. You are going to get 10x the life experience. And the one thing that I want to end this thought on is what it takes to live your best life, your long life, your longevity life. Meaning we're longevity coaches. This is a longevity podcast right now. What it takes is the exact same thing of having your best pregnancy, of getting pregnant, or reversing IBD. They're the same.
Yes.
Go talk to a longevity coach. It's the same. Take these supplements. Intermittent fasting. Watch your glucose. Watch your proteins.
Go for walks. Get sun. Go jump
meditate.
in a body of water.
Reduce your stress. It is the same thing. If you are worth $1 billion right now and you're saying, I have chronic sickness and I want to live to 100 because God gave me everything in this world, you can't buy it. You literally have to earn it, and you have to check your addictions. And so whether you're worth $1
we're trying to buy
or $1 billion.
People are trying to buy it with GLP-1, and I was like, I have so much respect when I see someone, and I mean, I came up from a gym world, but I have so much respect when I see someone who's jacked and they're in like their 50s or their 60s.
I love that you use jacked. I love that you
But they
jacked.
they're jacked, and I'm like, I know you earned that. Like, there is no way to just put muscle on your body except like literally years and decades in the gym of just dedication and then diet and sleep and all of it without, getting injured. So you can't buy it.
Without injured is the hard thing. That's the one that's really tough because a lot of these people I see them injured. I'm like, what's the point?
The ego gets in the way.
Big guns and you've got terrible tendons around the elbow with tennis.
You can't brush your teeth.
Or your shoulder. I'm like always surprised to see these tiny women who can just do yoga and put their hands up like this, and my shoulders are burning. I'm like, I don't care how much you can, military press. I have I can't do a handstand because I don't have enough flexion in my shoulders. It's a lot of epiphanies.
Yes. Thank you, Dane. This was amazing. Tell people where they can find you.
You guys, if you have severe IBD, IBS, and you need help and you need connection with anyone, first make sure we earn your trust and integrity, right? That's what we've been talking about today. You can find us at Crohn'sColitisLifestyle.com, Instagram Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle, or Dane Johnson 1, and or YouTube. But we offer a free 1-hour session. No gimmicks, no tricks. We just want to build it. We want it. If we're going to work together, let's do it on the right page. Let's come together and plan and make sure that we have integrity, because that's what's most important. Yep. You want results. We want to get results, and we want someone who's ready to heal. And I know if you're ready to heal, we're going to help you out. So thanks for having me. And this was great. I just felt like we had a cup of coffee and just had breakfast or something together.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's what we did. I'm having my
chatting away.
Chatting away.
I love it.
I wish you all the best. I think congratulations. I think it's a big, bringing 3 children into this world is a big deal. And
can I ask you a question before we go?
Yes.
We're thinking my wife looking at me like I'm insane, and I actually feel insane, but I do feel kind of called to eventually have 4 if I can just get out of this intensity we're in. Because we have 3 boys, and I'm like, man, I really love a daughter. Any kind of truth?
Do you feel a daughter in the soul?
We were convinced the 3rd was a daughter, and it was not.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to this time of the month having a daughter, or what days you tied to make love and all this stuff?
No, I don't think so. I think that I don't. I think
so. It's just another roll of the dice. I've had 3 boys, so I think I'm like at this point. I read a stat that it's like a 95% chance I have another daughter.
I think you can look at your methylation. I don't know if if you've ever both of you guys looked at your genetics.
I have
the
poor
Genova
epigenetics.
panel.
I have the MTHFR. I've got a lot of the autoimmune
Right, but like
issues.
both of you guys can look at which one. So alkalinity, the alkaline environments tend to create more boys. And then I know my mentor, and I'll ask her and I'll make sure to tag you in it because she's talked about it before where you can influence it through the methylation, but it's seeing what the man and the woman has and the nutrients that you need. I tend to approach of it because there is like the desire versus like what do you actually feel as the soul around you, and a lot of the times you'll feel different souls because someone like you guys, you probably have multiple souls around you that you can bring in. It's who do you need to become to bring this one in, and who, like you and your wife, what are the energetic shifts that need to happen, because each soul is going to ask you something different, like the one that you are facing right now. But I think we can actually tap into that before you even integrate it. And so that's a lot of meditation and I know you're already in that path, but I think you can see if that girl soul is swimming around and ask, who do I need to become, who does my wife need to become, and see what pops up in your world.
Yeah.
But I would test the methylation, the Genova panel with a saliva for both of you guys, because then you'd be able to see. Give your wife at least, the genetics are not going to change, but probably a year of breastfeeding, and then you can retest.
Yeah.
Like test, otherwise everything is just going to be very different right now for her.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, thank you, Dr. Jane. Always a pleasure. Thank you. And everyone who's still listening with us, thank you for being here. And you're a warrior. If you're listening and you're learning, you're going to do great things. Take action. Just keep doing it, because anyone who's still listening is I know, that has the right mind. You already have the right mind.
Yep.
Just go. Just keep going and keep learning and surround yourself with people of integrity who really want to help, and you're going to do great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you so much for being here and for an awesome conversation.
Thanks, guys.